In this video, I'm gonna share with you guys my thoughts on Shanghai, China. Now keep in mind this video was supposed to be completely different. I was actually in Beijing and I filmed my trip to this city when I took the high-speed train, which was fast, clean. I was in business class, so you guys can see what it looked like. Then when I arrived to Shanghai, I took a subway to my hotel and actually filmed my room. Then I went out to the streets so I can give you guys a little glimpse of what Shanghai looked like before I actually really start exploring. However, I don't know if it's my hard drive, maybe the footage, but when I downloaded the clips to all of them didn't transfer. So I got to figure out if that's a camera problem, hard drive problem. Maybe I'm just getting sloppy. Who knows? That's why now I have to do a voiceover. But that's okay because I have another clip now of me walking the streets. So as I talk, you guys can check out the scenery. It was a beautiful day. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. First and foremost, let me go ahead and say that the first thing that caught my eye was the amount of English that I heard once I arrived to the city. As soon as I got out of the railway station, bam, taxi drivers were speaking to me in English. When I took the subway to my hotel, I dropped my things and then I wanted to go out to grab some cash. Because although here in China, everyone uses the two major popular digital wallets, popular apps to pay for things, WeChat and Alipay, I still like to have cash just in case. Maybe my internet stops working, maybe the app stops functioning, maybe I lose my phone, etc., etc. But one of the most difficult things that I've experienced so far was trying to find an ATM, at least in Beijing. One, either they didn't exist, like they showed on my phone, or the ATMs were either messed up or they just wouldn't accept my bank cards. Except for one, which is a bank called ICBC. I think those are the initials, ICBC. So shout out to them. But it was rough when I was in Beijing. One day it took me about 30 to 40 minutes just to find a functioning ATM. But anyways, here in Shanghai, once I dropped off my bags, I went out and looked for an ICBC ATM, couldn't find it for a while, and then I just approached a random person on the street, pulled out my translator app to ask them, hey, where's the closest ATM? And they just started speaking to me in English. The guy actually walked with me to the ATM as well. Now his English wasn't the greatest, but it was good enough for me to understand. And so the point I'm just trying to make is just right off the bat, compared to my experience in Beijing, I'm noticing that English seems a little bit more common here. Next up are the amount of foreigners here. Now in Beijing, from my experience, it seemed like there were many local tourists. Here in Shanghai, I'm sure that's still the case, but I'm just seeing a lot more foreigners of all different nationalities. From what I've seen so far, it seems like many foreign tourists decide to come to Shanghai first, which leads me to my next few points, and that's about the vibe here. So the best way I can compare this is to Vietnam. While in Vietnam, the north and south were a little different. Up in the north, the major city is Hanoi, which is more traditional, more conservative. Whereas in the south, the major city is Ho Chi Minh / Saigon. And there seems more modern, more, I guess you would say liberal. Basically the opposite of the vibe from the north. It seems like that's the case here in China, in Beijing. It was a mix of ancient and modern, seems more conservative. Whereas here in Shanghai, again, the opposite, less traditional, more cosmopolitan. Definitely when you're out and about, you can see the international influences here, because I hear Shanghai is a mix, not only of the Chinese culture, but also cultures from the West, all blended together. And I've definitely noticed that just taking a leisurely stroll around different areas. In Beijing, I went from the narrow alleyways, the traditional side streets, the hutongs, to now Shanghai, where you have more of the strips with international brands, different architecture, Starbucks everywhere, etc., etc. And definitely what people said about Shanghai being modern, or very modern, I can see that. Not to say Beijing wasn't, but you can tell that Shanghai is the economic capital, the money capital of China, without a doubt. The fancy cars, the multiple shopping streets, the prices, because definitely my hotel here is a little bit more, it's hitting my pocket a little bit more than when I was in Beijing. I definitely don't plan to visit a laundromat here. If you don't know what I'm referring to, it's an inside joke. Just go to my last video. but the video titled Prices in Beijing, China are crazy. Then you'll understand what I'm referring to, but definitely I'm not hitting up a laundromat here. Another thing I noticed about Shanghai, and I pictured this before I traveled to this city. When I was doing research, I was looking up things to do, and it doesn't seem like Shanghai is known or popularized for its tourist attractions. I didn't really see any must-visit, colossal, major, historical Chinese monuments, temples, monasteries, things like that. Obviously, there are attractions here, many museums. There are many skyscrapers and high-rises, so many observation decks, towers. Because of the different influences, some areas may be pretty to visit during the day because of the architecture and the cafes. But as far as visiting to see historical China, from doing research, Shanghai doesn't really seem like the place. I do know on the outskirts, there are many ancient water towns. I don't know if that would be considered still Shanghai. But again, I don't think it's a city that prides itself on tourism necessarily. I think it more prides itself on, hey, we make money here. We're very international. We're open to foreigners. Not saying other places aren't, but we're probably the most foreigner-friendly city in the country, etc., etc. And last but not least, definitely something that you may not be able to tell from the video, but I sure felt it once I arrived to Shanghai, and that is the humidity. Now, granted, it's not as humid like in the Philippines or Thailand, but it's something that I never really heard people refer to when they spoke about Shanghai. Maybe it's global warming. Maybe it's the time that I'm here. It's summer, peak season. I do understand we're also along the coast, but man, no one told me about this. I had to figure it out on my own the hard way. These were just some of the initial thoughts I have about being here for just a little bit. But overall, I'm enjoying Shanghai. I'm definitely going to explore more. This was just a quick video because the initial video I was planning to do, half the footage got lost or deleted or corrupted. I don't know. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you're interested in the money capital of China, be looking out for more videos. I'm going to go ahead and end it, and I'm going to catch you guys at the next one. Deuces.